Yggdrasil's roots wove through the interdimensional library like veins through an old manuscript. Drinking deep of the void between stars, it had long since abandoned its past, though the weight of it still lingered in its bark. Even now, as Croissant-chan curled against its trunk, I could hear the echoes of old gods fading into dust. She wasn't sleeping. Her mind flickered, restless and bright, dancing between 1,000 questions she had yet to ask. Why does Yggdrasil stay? The thought floated, half-formed, between wakefulness and sleep, and Yggdrasil, ever the patient observer, answered before she could speak. Shall I tell you how I came to wander the stars? I could have answered for it, of course. I had been there when the tree stood alone, roots steeped in the ruins of a world it could no longer hold together. But I let the story unfold, as I always did. Some things were best learned in whispers, in slow revelations, in the quiet spaces between words. Once, I was the spine of the cosmos, binding the 9 realms. The gods called me sacred, their fates knotted into my roots. Odin hung upon my boughs to seek wisdom. The Norns wove the strands of destiny at my feet. Croissant-chan traced the grooves in the bark with one delicate finger, absorbing the words as if they were ink on parchment. And then came Ragnarok. A shudder ran through the branches. Croissant-chan hugged her knees. The wolf broke free. The serpent rose. The sky burned, and the gods fell. The realms collapsed one by one, until there was nothing left but me, standing upon the bones of a story that had already ended. She squeezed her eyes shut. That's awful. I tilted my head. Awful? No, it was simply inevitable. The gods and their realms had followed their scripts to the bitter end, and the tree had remained, as trees often do, long after those who planted them had turned to dust. So you were alone, she whispered, alone in a world that no longer needed me. And then, of course, the next question surfaced in her mind, even before she voiced it. Then why are you here? I smirked. I already knew the answer. I had, after all, given it. And then came your master, Yggdrasil said, with what I suspected was more amusement than reverence. Croissant-chan perked up, eyes shining. Oh, let me guess. He stood at your roots all dark and brooding and said, "Ah, a forsaken tree, doomed to weep in eternity's abyss." The branches rustled, a dry chuckle in the void. "No, little one," he said. "Oh, look, a big tree. How ominous." Yggdrasil shook loose a few glowing leaves as if sighing. "Yes," I hummed, pleased at the accuracy. It had been a practical observation. I had seen a large interdimensional tree, and I had pointed it out. That was simply what had happened. Croissant-chan giggled. "So then what? Did he offer you some grand purpose? A solemn vow to restore your honor?" He merely looked at me and said, "Well, you can sit here and mope, or you can hitch a ride." She blinked. "That's it. That is it. That was indeed it." I had no interest in grand speeches or fate-bound bargains. I had simply found a tree in the middle of oblivion and offered it a change of scenery. If it had refused, I would have left it there, and it would have spent eternity sulking in the ruins of its past. But it hadn't. It had let go. I had given it nothing except the option to be untethered from prophecy. Croissant-chan sighed, curling deeper into the roots. "I like that. As do I, little one." Her thoughts finally slowed, drifting toward sleep, and I exhaled. Yggdrasil had once been the anchor of an entire cosmos. Now it was a tree in my library, shading a girl made of croissants as she dreamed beneath its branches. A fitting fate, I thought. The library hummed, and we drifted on.